Hey, thanks for joining us. I'm Michael Miller. This is Live with Miami's Community News. Our guest today is a candidate for the City of Miami Mayor, Christian Cevallos. Thanks so much for being here, Christian.
Michael, thanks for receiving me here.
All right, so I'm going to do a little background and make sure I got this right. And as an immigrant, you began working in Little Havana as a teenager.
Yes, correct.
Tell us what you did there.
I was a cashier and a pizza guy at Casola's Pizza, actually, for quite some time.
You went to FIU, where you earned your degree in business administration. And in 2012, you launched your own business. Tell us about that business.
Yes, actually, before that, I was working for a construction company. I was able to be the general manager of the construction company. So in 2012, I decided on opening my own construction and home development business. And I've been doing good. Most of my activities are in Key Largo, Ocean Reef. I've built in Key Biscayne, Miami, and, many other places. So it's been a good journey. It's been, kind of a learning experience at the beginning, but we've done good. We went through, the end of the recession, and it's been 13 years that we're developing and building homes.
And you're on the community council in West Kendall. You were first elected in 2018, and then again in 2020.
Yes.
I understand you got a lot of votes, and Grant Miller's over near us. So tell us how many votes you got.
Yes.
Grant, this is out of a community council. All right, let's hear it.
I was able to get the most votes for a community council in the history of Miami-Dade. 2018, it was 12,500 votes. Yes.
That's a big deal. For the people that don't know, that is a big deal for a community council.
That is a big deal. And then on the re-election, we were able to get almost 18,000 votes.
That is just incredible that you were able to do that. And so for the people that don't know about campaigning, tell us how you were able to do that.
Well, actually, you know what? At the end of 2017, maybe about 9 months before the election, I started walking and knocking on doors one by one. And I was learning the process of knocking on doors. It's not easy. And during, with Miami weather, it's not easy. But I was able to knock on 7,000 doors. And you know what? It's amazing what happened at the end of that election. I'm going to give you some facts. At the end of that election, when we were able to get those 12,500 votes, there was only one neighborhood that we lost at, the one that I couldn't visit because of time. So that tells you that when people doesn't know you, when you're not on the street, when you don't knock on a door, they don't vote for you because they don't know you.
So, and let's talk about now in your campaign for the city of Miami, there's this little problem that occurred recently, which is the City of Miami Commission voted to postpone and change the election from November 2025 to 2026. It was passed 3-2, and the mayor signed off on it immediately. How is that going to affect your campaign?
Totally. You know what? We're not stopping the campaign. We're continuing because we hope that, this is going to court already. And actually, the state attorney and actually the governor, they're not agreeing with it. But I don't think it's fair for the people. Because if you want to do any change that you want to do, let's put it in democracy. Let's put it for vote. They were able to put it for vote a year ago. 2 years ago, there's been some other elections where you were able to say, you know what, you want to extend the terms for another year or simply change the date from 2025 to 2026, but not just 5 or 6 months before the election. And actually, the ones voting, they could benefit from that. And actually, the mayor is staying for another year.
Yes. So not only do they get an extra year, they get an extra year's pay.
Yeah, exactly.
How much is that pay?
Well, you know what? If you're talking about commissioners, I think it's close to 70 grand. The mayor close to 120. So if you're considering money, it's not fair for the voters. And
so Damien Pardo, a good friend. Sorry, Damien. All right, Damien was the one that brought it up and voted for Christina King. And who was the other gentleman?
And Rosado, right. They voted too.
New guy. We know him. He used to be here in the city of South Miami. Ralph Rosado.
Yeah, exactly.
And he has his PhD and something. He was former city manager, I think, in North Bay Village. And so they elected. They voted on this, right? And they say that it's okay to do it. In the city of South Miami, sorry, Damien. All right, in the city of South Miami, they took it to the voters. It took 2 cycles. And the voters says, yes, let's do that. And the resulting thing was similar. They got an extra certain amount of months, but the decided that's what we want to do. And quite frankly, if I voted somebody in for 2 years or 4 years, that's what I voted for 2 years or 4 years or whatever it happened to be.
Not for 5.
Right. And so it should be interesting to see if the Attorney General of the state of Florida and DeSantis, what they do. And they're certainly going to be on the other side of that, as well as the candidates that are running.
Yeah, I agree on that, and hopefully they do that, because you know what, no one elected them to be 5 years. Put a vote, and not only that, but when you're gonna create something that is gonna benefit yourself or the board members or the ones sitting on the table with you, that's not fair. That's not nice. You know what? Why didn't they put it and say, you know what? Let's do this. Let's put it on this ballot in November. If people want this group of new elected officials, the ones that would be elected in November, to stay 5 years, and then the elections, instead of being in 2029, they are in 2030, and people vote and agree on that, perfect. Let's do it. Because you know what? Whenever you're creating something that is going to change the city and it's going to change the terms and the rules of the game, but not to benefit you or the ones voting for it.
Yes.
That is nice. That is fair. That is something that needs to be done.
Christian, speaking of changing, Coconut Grove has been changing quite a bit in the last 10 or 15 years. And certainly there's been the big issue concerning the Coconut Grove Playhouse, which is sort of a central point of preservation. So is there something that you think you can help get done in Coconut Grove where you can balance off the developments that need to take place and the property rights of the people that own them, but yet preserve some of the history of Coconut Grove?
Totally. You know what? I pro history right now that we were talking, and you were telling me about a few history facts of these community newspapers. I love history, and that theater right there, that place needs to stay. I'm pro developer. I'm a developer myself, but you know what? When developers are trying to encroach in what history means and things that needs to be preserved, I'm not a pro developer in that case. So you know what? That place has been abandoned for many years. We need to put it back to where it was, and keep it.
Even New York has Central Park. And when you think about that, I don't know how many acres it is, but it's there so people can enjoy that. I was in Coconut Grove over the weekend, and I'm looking to see the big developments that are going on. And when I see these old houses and people are paying attention to them, it really adds a huge flavor to the city, and it really feels good to be able to walk up and down the streets and go through the neighborhoods and see that. We know that sea level rise is a big problem for a lot of our coastal cities, including in downtown Miami and throughout the area. So, and we know this is threatening the coastal neighborhoods all across the area. So, is there a plan to protect Brickell, Edgewater, and Coconut Grove?
Yeah, totally. You know what? I've spoken to a couple of experts in sewer systems. We need to improve that. Miami has had a bad sewer system for many years, and nothing happens. We see the floodings and all that, for many years. We need to work on that. We need to also work with seawalls and actually push developers to work better on that. Because you know what, developers sometimes, we develop, because I'm a developer myself, but we sometimes build and we're trying to see profits and all that. That's okay. That's good. That creates employment, prosperity. But we also need to think for the residents and for the future. We don't want anything anything bad to happen to residents in a few years.
So the irony of development in an area is that we look downtown, a lot of development, mobility is like the big question. Not getting rid of the traffic, but how do you get around in that traffic? But when we think about the lack of affordable housing, and I know that's sort of a nebulous sort of term, so often that the government has allowed people to put more concrete on their smaller apartments, more people, theoretically more cars, theoretically. So what's the balance between providing housing, traffic, mobility, and keeping things green? Tell us about that.
You know what? I was one time I said that Miami has become a victim of their own success. People they want to live in Miami, they want to move into Miami, but you know what? It's getting crowded. More development is happening, and that's okay. That brings many good things. But we also need to create a better transportation system. We need to improve the trolleys. That way, people they're not, because there's a lot of local traffic moving around Miami, not going out of Miami. A lot. I know a lot of people moving from Brickell to downtown downtown to Coconut Grove, around along the area. So if we create a better transportation system that serves that local community, I think that will be better. But also we need to work with affordable housing. The city and the county, they have a lot of property that needs to actually be directed to affordable housing, because you know what, it has happened in Wynwood. There was some developers that were able to build in Wynwood, in the Wynwood area, but on lots and land that is given by the county or the city. And at the end, those properties didn't become too affordable to people. Right now, we need to work on that a lot.
I had the occasion a couple Sundays ago to eat outside at a restaurant that was on Brickell. I saw all the modes of transportation. It was amazing. You had people that were running. You had people on skateboards. You had the little scooters. Then you had motor scooters. And then you had all the deliveries of the food. Then you had the moms with the baby carriage. You had runners and walkers. It was really amazing to see how downtown has evolved in the last 15 years. And so for people that haven't been downtown, go, all right, and see what it's like. And I remember many, many years ago being downtown and they were abandoned. Now there's people all the time walking around.
Yeah, but you know what? Businesses are closing in downtown. That's the sad thing. I got a nice video that I'm going to be posting soon. Businesses are closing in downtown. There's a lot of closed doors in downtown because we as a city, we haven't, incentivized people to open business, that we haven't given the facilities. Because one of the things that I'm going to say and I'm going to be working with is that businesses, if you talk to any local business in the Miami area, restaurants especially, if you talk to a restaurant, they're going to tell you that they've been 6, 8, 9, 12, 15, 18, even 2 years trying to open a business, and they don't pass inspections, and then the city comes back. They haven't sold one single empanada yet, and they're already bankrupt. So we need to motivate business, and we need to make things easier for businesses to open. And downtown area is one of the areas that is affected.
I do want to do a shout out for Strive 305. It's a county initiative, and what they do is they help small businesses navigate the exact thing that you're talking about. Although it's in the county, they might be able to, maybe the city of Miami could help them. It means that somebody needs an occupational license, something to help with permits, and to be able to take the novice like myself to go into this big thing.
And they're doing a good job.
Sort of hard to navigate. So I noticed in your resume, you did some work where you have paid particular attention to mental health services. So talk about that.
About what, I'm sorry?
Mental health services.
Oh, yeah, totally. You know what? Actually, I've worked with 2 or 3 organizations in the last years. Actually, part of the board of an organization that promotes, help to families that have, children with special needs. Miami Family Friendly Hands is a foundation. And I've worked with a few of those organizations. We need to do a lot more because you know what? Recently, the county launch a program, and the city needs to do it, that police officers, they're able to identify houses where they have a child with special needs. So that's good when they arrive, because something happened, they already know. But one of the things that I found when knocking on these doors, because I need to tell you something, in the last 7 years, I've visited about 1,800 organizations and businesses. So that's a lot, and they tell you the stories. One of the things that happens is that when you go and knock into someone that has a child with special needs, they're going to tell you that they don't have the benefits that the state provides, but they're not informed. So all the cities and the county itself, we need to provide information and guide these individuals in order to get the benefits that they get from the state. And sometimes they don't get them because they're not informed. So we need to create special sessions, I would say every week, every month, to inform the community, not only on special needs, but on everything, opening a business and something, but that especially with families that have children with special needs.
So April was the Autism Awareness Month, so we brought in lots of folks that were involved with that. The figures that I continue to hear is 1 out of 30 to 35 children are autistic on the spectrum. 1 out of 7 has some sort of disorder. And the University of Miami, under their CARD program, which is Center for Autism and Related Disorders, they're very busy and trying to help these kids. And part of it is to get them diagnosed early enough so they can start providing the care so that their habits start to be a little bit better. And we've had some personal experience with it, and it's something that's dear to my brother, Grant, and I about that. Let's talk about first responders. First responders, that can be from the school teacher to the ambulance driver to the police and the firemen. In the old days, oh, the firemen and the police, they're all macho. They don't need any help. But you know different. Tell us about that.
They do need a lot of help, and there's a lot of people that they want to volunteer and work with first responders, with police officers, with firefighters. And actually, one of the things that I've done in these last 7 years is putting, a lot of these government entities closer to the community, so the community know them. They can, have a closer approach. They can volunteer. They can help. They can participate. And also, when you bring all these first responders closer to the community, you create that bond that they trust more these agents, these officers, and that's what we need to do. Inform community how to be involved, how to participate, and also how to get trained. Because you know what, I have an organization that is eager to train, and they're going to work with me. They have told me to train the community to be ready to first respond, to help the first responders, and sometimes to aid and help someone that is in need.
When we look at it, for the most of the time, firemen are almost always welcome. Policemen, it's like half the time you want them there, and the other half, don't give me a ticket, right? And I can't imagine what it must be like for a policeman to pull over a car, and if there's 4 cars out there, 1 or 2 have guns in them. So imagine what that does on the psyche, and when they experience that day in and day out. So let's talk about a little bit. If you could push a magic button, let's say you're the mayor and you have the whole commission over there, but you could push a button and make some changes, and you had the full support of the commission. What would those things be?
You know what? One of the things that I would do, that we need to do, is attract more investment to the city. Because there's a lot of European investors. In my private business, I work with European, South American, Central American investors that build, that they work in the development business. We can bring a lot of these investors to create more prosperity in the city, to bring more employment, to actually lower the crime rates, because whenever you have prosperity and employment and good things are happening in the city, you lower the crime rate also. So that would make things easier for police officers also. We need to train our police officers better. They're really well trained, but we need to equip them better. But when you bring investment, private investment, to the city, and you open more restaurants, more businesses, you create more employment, we need to also bring a lot of more attractions to the city. If you see the Carnaval de la Calle 8 on 8th Street, that has been down. It's about 25% of the people that visit that place now compared to 30 years ago. That is, you're letting some tourism go away, going to other cities. When tourists arrive to city of Miami, they just take another plane or a car to Orlando, to other cities, because we don't have too many attractions here. We need to bring more tourism that is going to bring more employment and prosperity. I would create an office that connects investors and people that want to put businesses in Miami, and that is going to be connected to what I said at the beginning, to a strategy, to an ordinance that these businesses need to be open within 90 days to operate.
Christian, Miami in the last 10 years, or 15, or in that frame, has become worldwide known for lots of good things, including a lot of big organizations moving to Miami. There's the good side of it, the not so good side of it. When people come here and they can buy a home for $2 million and it's a bargain, all right, they buy it. But for us guys that live down here, that home a couple of years ago was $1.5 million. So we have that, the advantage and the disadvantage. So what can people do if they feel they were getting outpriced on as far as in their home and being able to pay the taxes and the insurance, which of course is pretty high, and there's septic tanks that sooner or later they're going to need to address. So are there some specific things they can do?
Well, actually, you know what? One of the things that I would suggest to people is try to become a homeowner, do your best effort. And the cities themselves, they can actually promote that, work with banks, work with the federal government in order to inform and people, they can buy homes, they can, be a homeowner. Because when you're on the rent side, when you're becoming a tenant and you live as a tenant all your life, you're going to be a victim of, high prices too. Of course,
And without any inflation.
without any inflation, and mortgages are easier to pay and more. It's a wiser investment than paying a rent. So I would create a program like that, and of course, if we create more affordable housing, people that cannot afford, buying a home, they would move into these homes. But that's a good advice. But also, one of the things that I was saying is that if we bring more investment to the city, and those monthly pay rates or the salary of people go up, they're able to pay better homes. So it's a circle. That's economy. So that's something that I would for sure do.
So I know the county and the city have been working feverishly on completing the Underline, which is an amazing park, if you will, all around the city of Miami and the county. And it has become a place where people can go and feel a little bit more comfortable. So tell us about that process, how it went from don't go underneath there because it's going to be terrible to what it is now.
No, totally. I love it because you know what? I need to say it. There's some good things that the city has done. And of course, we cannot blame it on the current administration that everything is bad. There's some good things. And I really like, the Underline. Sometimes I ride it on my bike. Sometimes I go walking or running. And it's really nice. It's a place to enjoy. It's a place that people can feel safe. I don't see anything unsafe about that. Sometimes we need to work on people that start kind of living next to the Underline with a little tent. We need to be careful with that. And I guess the city of Miami need to be putting attention to that, sending police and checking. But I would say that 99% of the conditions of the Underline are good. They're motivating sports. They're motivating, a healthy habit too.
In the last couple of minutes, let's address the issue of gambling. Years ago, the Miami Herald sold that property. They sold it for $240 million. And then a big gambling place bought it, was trying to get some gambling done. Will there be gambling in the city of Miami in the next 10 years?
You know what? I think gambling, even though I'm not a gambler myself, I'm not a fan of it, but I think it brings also employment to the city. It brings, prosperity. But of course, you need to control it. Anything that is under not controlled and, it's out of control, of course, it's going to create trouble. So I wouldn't be opposed to creating more enterprises, more companies that create employment. But of course, with certain rules, restrictions, and controls, and of course the support of the city in order to not have a problem.
Can you give us your website address?
Yes, CevallosMiami.com. Christian Cevallos on Facebook and Instagram, Cevallos Miami. Everything is Cevallos Miami.
If people need to reach you, they can reach you there. Phone numbers, email addresses.
Everything is there. We have a QR code that they can scan and they can follow and connect to us. We're going to be needing volunteers in order to win this. And of course, I want to promote the city to get together, to voters get together, and we need to keep our elections on this November of 2025.
Christian Cevallos, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much,
right
Michael.
over there. Folks, again, thanks for joining us. Remember, vote early. When the time comes up, it may be sooner than later. All right. And remember, take care of yourselves and your family. Have a great day. Bye now.